Look at the ocean, the vastness. Listen to the waves as they rush to meet land. This is the perfect symbolic environment to represent difficulty, constant change, and beauty. And though at any given moment you may find your ease while on it or in it, there is always the ever-present potential for danger and for change. To navigate and master the sea is to symbolically say to navigate countless perils and master problem solving. Now, at this present moment, as we set out on the seas that lie before you, know that there are prerequisites to success, no matter who and what the enemies to it may be found to be. The prerequisites, a drive or a purpose that won't allow you to quit, a confidence and an in-depth understanding of who you are as a person, what you are and what you are not, the greatest of faith and belief in yourself, the will and endurance to study all the knowns of the field of entry, and the taking on of having the goal to plan in stages the crossing of the barrier of entry of the undertaking one is working towards, then at a time after the ultimate meeting of one's mark. Lastly, know having success is one thing, having maintained success is another. There are at least 5 enemies to the individual successes you strive to achieve. Let us label them and count them. What's up, y'all? It's the Kingpin, the Kingpins, BlazeDeImperial, King of the GWC, Ballin' Untouchables, Flies, Daniel Boys. Y'all have to kind of forgive me. I know I'm looking kind of rough right now, but you know, I really wanted to record this video, put it out there, you know, and I want to talk to y'all briefly about the things that you up against, you know, when you out here trying to do anything for yourself, when you're trying to succeed at something, you know, when you're just trying to make it, you know, even when you just struggling to get by, when you're struggling to make it, you know, there are certain things you always gonna be up against, you know. Lots of times we always focus in on the people we consider our enemies or our adversaries, or the people you might not have nothing against, but they seemingly have something against you. You know, those what we call haters. Those people, for whatever reason, they just seem, you know, uplifted by you struggling, and they don't, you can tell like their whole energy is they don't want you to make it. You know, so you always gonna have opposition, you know. But other than opposition, depending on what you're doing, I'm pretty sure to succeed at anything, you got a time frame, a time limit, a certain time you need it, you know, a sense of urgency of the now. You know, you always gonna have to battle time. So let's look at that first. You know, if you're trying to succeed at something, you gotta look at your time frame. There's a time limit to whatever it is that you have to accomplish this by, or success or attaining something is only good for you by a certain time or within a certain time period. So you always rushing or fighting against time. Pretty much time probably won't be on your side in anything you do. It's a real rarity for, you know, time working in your favor when you out here trying to accomplish something. The next thing is circumstances. Other than battling time, you probably gonna have to battle some circumstances. You know, at that given point of time in your life, you know, this is this way, that is that way, because of the time limit that you need this by, this circumstances is created. You know, the people, the places, the things, and the time all coincide to make a circumstance. So you always gonna be battling circumstances, and pretty much you probably always gonna be battling time. So that's two things, time and circumstance. The third thing I would say, you know, we're gonna go ahead and do the obvious, the one I started with, you know, people. People, for whatever reasons, that oppose your goals, your dreams, your happiness, your actions. They are your enemy. Anyone who working against, whether knowingly or vicariously, working against you trying to accomplish what you done set in your heart to do, those are your enemies. You know, you may fool yourself and thinking that they're not your enemies, but when push comes to shove and you really look into it, that's what they are. If they're trying to stop you, they definitely not on your side. You know what I mean? So you got to worry about people in this life. There will always be people who don't want you to succeed at your dreams, don't want you to succeed at your goals. And a lot of times those people may not have anything to gain by you not succeeding. They simply just don't want you to succeed. You know, maybe they can't succeed at their dreams. Maybe they aren't happy, so they don't want you to. So you're going to have to fight against time in this life. You're going to have to fight against circumstance. You're going to have to fight against people, right? All right, let me think what else you probably have to fight against. Money, things like that. I consider that somewhat circumstance, but I think finances we're going to count as something different, because that's something specific with specific type remedies. So you're going to have to fight against time. You're going to have to fight against circumstance. You're going to have to fight against people. Then you're going to have to battle to have the financial situation that you need to finance your dreams, your goals, or whatever you have to accomplish. So just know, however you choose to go about it, you're going to need finances, probably pretty much sure, to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And for this video's sake, last but not least, the last thing you're going to have to fight against is yourself. Self-doubt, laziness. You know, you have to battle yourself and put yourself on the side of what it is you set out to do. Meaning, if you say, you know what, I'm finna go to college, you know, I want to get a degree, you have to put your actions and your thoughts in alignment to make that happen. So you're going to have to study, you know what I mean? You're going to have to make sure you rested. You're going to have to make sure you always show up for class. So there's a lot of things when you want to accomplish something, the vast majority of things that's up to you. You have to work and think in the steed of accomplishment. So if you overcome the time scenario, if you overcome circumstances, if you overcome people, and then if you overcome the financial aspects of something, you still have to remove all those negative things and things not conducive of you making whatever dream you have come true. That's something you have to overcome. You have to overcome all negative vices and things within self that will prevent you from being successful. So you have to defeat the self enemy, right? The enemy of self, the parts and aspects of yourself that could cause you not to get where you want to go. You have to defeat those. Then you have to overcome whatever financial hurdle there may be, right? Then you have to overcome whatever adversaries in the form of people that are going to have to be defeated to get where you need to be. Then you're going to have to outwit and defeat circumstances, right? Then after you defeat circumstances, finally, you have to race and battle against time. So for the sake of this video, we've discussed and went over 5 enemies, 5 forces within your circumference that you're going to have to defeat if you want to be successful at any given thing. So, you know, maybe later on we'll go in detail and be specific about certain things when it comes to succeed and then overcoming and whatnot. But I just really wanted to, you know, make a video and talk to y'all out there. So, you know, this Kingpin, the Kingpins, BlazeDeImperial, signing off. You know what I mean? Wealth and health. I wish y'all an awesome day.
Okay, we now have a model to work with. We know the 5 enemies. So knowing the 5 enemies and using that as a model, let's have a master conversation. When we talk about the 5 enemies of success, one of the things that's most crucial when it comes to people is identifying who's the enemy. Lots of times, you know, we have it in our mind just because we don't see physical hostility that someone's not our enemy. That's so far from true. You have to watch people's actions. You have to watch their intentions. You have to look at everything they do, how they carry themselves, their goals, you know, all their actions. Are these things being carried out? Are the end results favorable to us? Or is it the fact that everything a certain person does, their every intention, their every desire, though it's not personally straightforward driven to undermine us, does it in fact undermine us? Because I'm telling you, you know, I know from experience, there are people in your life, in your circle, their every action is contrary to what would bring you success. The type of friends they associate with besides you, all their desires for triumph, all these things work in contrary to you being successful. So it's very important for you to be able to identify who is really your enemy and who is really a friend. Now, granted, some individuals may not be aware of this consciously, but I say, if you look and you find an individual in your life or someone who has ties to you, and you really analyze and look at their every action, their every intent, if their every action, if their every intent, if their every motive put into play works against you, works to harm you, or puts them directly in opposition to you, I say you still, at the very least, should look at this person's character and really question it. Because if I'm truly a friend to you and I'm in proxy to you and I'm doing activities, I'm mingling with certain people, I'm trying to accomplish certain goals, I put out certain designs and hope for these designs to succeed. And if every single one puts me at the opposite spectrum of my friend, that says something, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. That says something about me. Because a real friend, a real ally, when they make decisions, they consider their loved ones. They consider their allies. They consider their friends. They look at the situation. They look at what they wish to accomplish. They look at what they got going on, and they analyze and examine the results. Now, one thing, okay. Two things, but if I'm putting plays together, If I got how the youngsters say nowadays, motion, I got all this motion, I got all these plays, and every last one of them give someone who's supposed to be close to me or supposed to have the title of friend, if all my activity give them the short end of the stick, that would just make me a definite and for sure foe. I just haven't professed it or made a declaration of armed hostility. So believe you me, these individuals do exist. And it's probably one or two in your life right now. Guard yourself against them and take appropriate measure. But the first step is to be able to identify them. And the master key to that is having a clear understanding when you say someone is against your success. Do you truly and honestly understand the things that all around the board will produce success for you? Do you have an understanding with a vast multiplicity of actions carried out by the people in your life and all around you? Do you have the necessary understanding to be able to decipher the actions that equate to being for you and the actions that equate to being against you? Because the average layperson that I myself have encountered, it could be someone in their life doing all kind of things, and they can't equate the activity of that person with success or failure. Most people, sadly, don't know how to equate their own actions with success or failure. So a lot of this stuff happens all the time. It's just the individuals that it happens to, they're not even aware when it happened. They're not even aware of, okay, all these activities, all this type of attitude, all this type of energy, all this type of decision making that the people around me are doing, it equates to them being the enemy of my success. They can't even see that deep on the fundamental level of all the things that equate with success or all the things that equate with failure. So if I don't even know the difference in behavior patterns, the difference in actions, the difference in support of certain things, if I don't know the difference, how can I truly identify who's my friend and who's my foe? Or who's in alliance with my success and who's not? So that's the first thing. You got to be able to identify allies and foes, but you got to understand and be able to grasp on a fundamental level what is the reason this person is allied with my success, and what is the reason this person in truth is allied with my potential failure. A lot of this involves understanding. It involves a growth of mind. It involves certain realizations, having a complete and all around the board understanding of what is success, having a complete and overall understanding of knowing, okay, any entity, any force, anything coming with this type energy or these type actions or bringing this type whatever it is in my life, that's a recipe for failure. So you got to know what you know and seek to raise your understanding. And that's where we're going to end it right now. We have now a model to work with. The 5 enemies of your success. We talked a little bit about enemies as far as it relates to people. You know what I'm saying? We dropped a few gems. In the future, we're going to return to this subject, but we also going to do the other 4 enemies of success. So just know, we going to use this in the future as a model for us to work with to really go into something and have master conversations and break down how to deal with opposition and how to identify it in its clearest forms when it's not so easy to identify. This has been the Kingpin of Kingpins, BlazeDeImperial, King of the GWC, Ballin' Untouchables, Flies Daniel Boys.